everyone, and welcome back to the JRPG Report podcast. This is episode 81, and currently we are in our new studio. Still kind of a work in progress, so if it sounds a little bit echoey, it's because there's literally nothing on the walls right now. In fact, I don't even have a desk set up yet. The computer's kind of in the floor. I grabbed a kitchen table, chair to sit in, so it's kind of a mess right now, but there were a few things we wanted to talk about news-wise, and as this is a weekly podcast, the show must go on. So thank you so much for tuning in yet again this week to episode 81. Just bear with us and we will get through this. It's going to be a short podcast. There's not a whole lot of news out there, but I did want to share a special segment that was suggested a few weeks ago, and that'll be looking ahead to the top games coming out in 2020, or at least hopefully come out in 2020. So you'll have that to look forward to after we get through the news. So let's just kind of dive right into that now. Like I said, not a whole lot of big things to talk about, but let's kind of hit them all in order. One of the first things I wanted to just quickly mention was that Little Town Hero got a extended, usually we see like this as a launch trailer, but this was more of a 20-minute gameplay video. So if you're kind of on the fence about that, you can check out this 20 minutes of gameplay. It looks like such an interesting title and at a good price. So as you're listening to this podcast, it's probably available for sale. So go ahead and check that out. It is only digitally available on the Nintendo Switch. And you can find the link to this video as well as every story that we talk about over on the JRPG Report Facebook page. We've got some active discussions over there too, so you want to be a part of that. Definitely head over there and give us a like. So I'm not sure when I'm going to check out Little Town Hero. It's not today, I can tell you that much. The Switch is on the shelf, but it's not in active use quite yet. I've got the PlayStation 4 sitting there too, but it's not going to get anything. I'm kind of focusing, on the house for now, but that will change shortly when Cold Steel 3 comes out. We got a interesting first look at not a traditional JRPG, but definitely has some of those elements to it. And this is a game called War of Ashrid. I believe that's how you say it. Ashird. This is a game that's coming to PS4, Switch, and PC, and they say you play as a young soldier who becomes a key figure in a nation's struggle. This is a fantasy RPG published by Yggdrasil Studio and developed by Kumiho Soft. Still early in the production for this one, so really not a release window yet, but here's a little bit more about this game. A new fantasy role-playing game set in the magical land of Ashrid, where three powerful factions fight each other for the ultimate prize. War of Ashrid takes you to a unique world full of quests, battle, romance, intrigue, and betrayal. You play as Deegan, a young soldier who, from his humble beginnings, will become a key figure in Astral's power struggle. It has a hybrid combat system with different tactics for skirmishes and sieges. You capture an enemy fortress and expand your borders. Choose your generals among a dozen beautiful warriors, manage your own kingdom, and have your own land, home, and maids. Level up characters and develop your units using a unique talent tree for each character. Unlock the secret Teo skills for ultimate power. Live unforgettable moments and romance with your favorite girl from your mighty army, and multiple endings for each heroine depending on your choices. Think you know everything, every secret about the game? Think again. Thanks to the new Game Plus feature, every time you play is a whole new adventure. So it sounds like a pretty cool game. Again, no release window yet on it. Kind of sounds like it's got some elements like a Fire Emblem, but more of a maybe more of a traditional JRPG battle system. Really don't know anything more about that, as there's only a handful of screenshots, mostly just showing off the art for the game. And interesting. I will definitely keep an eye on that one and let you guys know more about it as I find out about it. Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town got a new Japanese TV spot and a new screenshot. You guys can check that out. This is coming out on October 17th. That is today, as of this recording in Japan, and will be out at a later date in North America and Europe. So if you want to check out that new spot, you know where to go. Head over to the Facebook page, and you can see that. The Kimco RPG Collection Volume 1 is coming to the Switch on January 30th, 2020 in Japan. This is the first Kimco RPG physical collection to appear on the Switch, and it will be available for just under 4,000 yen. We'll have the following 4 titles: As Divine Hearts, Revenant Saga, and I always want to say Antiqua Lost, but Antiqua Lost, I believe that's how you pronounce that one, and Dragon Sinker. So those 4 games, that is some terrible English, I'm very sorry. No word yet on a Western release, but those games are, at least I know As Divine Hearts and Revenant Saga are definitely available. I've seen those for sale before, so we may get a physical edition of that as well, and maybe Limited Run would put something like that out. But it's always good to see physical copies on these digital-only titles. We got a look at Mary Skelter 2. It got some more information as well as some screenshots. This game is coming out on October 22nd in North America and October 23rd in Europe. For the Switch, this is the sequel to Mary Skelter Nightmares. The sequel stars a young girl named Atsu and her adventures involving various fairy tale based characters. Players will have to navigate through various jail environments that are filled with their own traps and puzzles. To help ease the challenges that lie ahead, players can enlist the aid of characters known as Blood Maidens. Every Blood Maiden has their own blood ability, such as Cinderella's 12 Dash or Snow White's Poison Bomb. Experimentation with these will be the key to conquering the dungeon. There's also a new feature in both titles called Jail Trials. With this, players can add on to conditions for their dungeon dives, which can vary from no use of items to no saving. That'd be difficult, good grief. While these may lead to copious amounts of death, they can also result in greater rewards. Jail Control from Nightmares will be making a revamped edition. This is available digitally, but there is going to be a physical edition from the before mentioned Limited Run Games, and that pre-order is starting on November the 26th. Quickly, I will mention that there was a Pokemon Sword and Shield story out there. New information, video, and screenshots introducing Gigantamax Pikachu, Charizard, Eevee, Meowth, and Butterfree. That is the funniest looking Pikachu I've ever seen. My goodness, it's put on a few pounds. You can check out that story and the accompanying images on the Facebook page. Disgaea 4 Complete Plus demo is now available in North America and Europe as of this recording. It is available now.
And we've got a special
Publisher
guest joining
NIS
us to help
America
show
has
everything
announced.
off.
NIS America also released a new gameplay trailer highlighting the top 10 coolest things in the game, including online features, autosave, discipline, the assembly system, ghosts, the cheat shop, char and item worlds, and various attack types. Disgaea 4 Complete Plus is due out for PS4 and Switch on October 29th in North America and Europe, on October
Autosave. I
31st
do not know about
in Japan.
you,
So
but
you
I
can
hate it
check
when my
out
team
that
gets
top 10
invalid
coolest
and I
things to
lose all
play
of my progress
video.
because I didn't save.
You know where to go.
But thanks to the new auto.
We haven't mentioned one of these in a while, but Squaresoft released a inside diary. They did a few of these before. I remember they did a look inside the world of Final Fantasy 12 and various other things. Well, this time they're going to be talking to the folks inside the Final Fantasy 8 remaster, and that includes the director, producer, and art director. So a few of you I know are huge FF8 fans, so you might want to check this one out. Get a little bit more of a gleam into not only the original game, but what went into making the remaster of Final Fantasy 8. We had two separate stories about Fairy Tail. First, they added the playable characters, hopefully I can say this correct, Gajeel, Gajeel, Red Fox, and Yuva, Juvia, Loxer. These are two new playable characters, the latest issue of Weekly Famitsu Reveal. The magazine also confirmed that both the Grand Magic Games and Tartaros arcs are included, and that the game will begin at the battle against Hades. There's also a screenshot of a cutscene where Erza and Kagura are fighting against each other. Fairy Tail is due out for PS4, Switch, and PC sometime in 2020. And then shortly thereafter, we got some more about the storyline, as well as those before mentioned characters. So this is about the storylines. Fairy Tail's enchanting storyline includes the fan favorite Tenro Island arc, the Grand Magic Games arc, and the Tartaros arc, as well as other episodes from the original canon based on the best-selling manga and anime series of the same name. The game's plot focuses on the time period about halfway through the anime and revolves around Fairy Tail Guild's near demise after the mysterious absence of Natsu's party. The guild's prestige has plummeted in the years since they've gone and is drowning in debt. Thankfully, Natsu and his crew of mages are back and ready to return Fairy Tail to its former glory days by joining the Grand Magic Games and competing for top guild. Action includes Natsu's party facing Hades in an action-packed showdown, Erza clashing swords with Kagura of Mermaid Hill, and breathtaking battles against the Dark Guild Tartaros. Additionally, original episodes will also be playable to help characters bond while unlocking unique scenes in the game. So again, I apologize for not being familiar with this one, nor the pronunciations of these characters and events titles, but this game has me interested in learning more about this series. The game looks like a lot of fun, and we'll know a little bit more about it as we get closer to its 2020 release date. Speaking of release dates, we are getting closer to the Japanese release for Persona 5 Royal. That is coming out on the 31st. On the day before, there will be a special live stream to commemorate the launch. It'll feature live gameplay, a talk segment, and a relay to a mini concert performance by vocalist Lin. So if you're up on your Japanese and want to check that out, you can definitely do so. So I'm a bit disappointed this week as there is no Atelier Ryza news. I searched and searched, but there was nothing out there. I'm sorry. But the Gust would not be denied in bringing at least something from their world out, and that comes in the form of the Atelier Dusk Trilogy Deluxe Pack debut trailer. So this was the previous sub-series, and it includes Aisha, Esha and Logi, and Shally. So that is going to be due out on December 25th in Japan for PS4 and Switch. And we'll get it about 3 weeks later on PS4, Switch, and PC on January the 14th in North America. In Europe, you can also buy these games separately if you don't want to pony up for all three at the same time. But there was a kind of introduction trailer and getting you reacquainted with the Dusk sub-series for the Atelier games. So that's really all the news. Like I said, there really wasn't anything too big that came out, but I wanted to kind of cover those little stories and get those out to you. We'll take a quick break here and have a word from our sponsor here on the JRPG Report. Hey guys, I'll take a quick second to thank our sponsor for today's podcast. That is Anchor. Of course, that is the platform that allows me to reach you guys, and we want to thank them for being such a great sponsor, but also let you guys know if you want to start your own podcast, it's really simple and easy. You just need a way to record, and the Anchor app or download on your desktop through their website. It's 100% free and easy, and you can actually make a few bucks with advertisements like this. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, give Anchor a try. You will not be disappointed. Like I said, they are 100% free, and it's one of the things I love about them as reaching all the major platforms. So try Anchor today. So before we get into talking about all the games coming out in 2020, there was one huge piece of news that came out, and I wanted to at least touch on it, that no press conference, no huge live stream, just a couple articles that PS5 has been confirmed. It's coming in holiday 2020, and it sounds like it's going to be a beast of a machine. If you've not heard about it, I wouldn't be surprised, as like I said, they really didn't have much fanfare, along with it. Let's just kind of highlight some of the really impressive technical things about this system that we know about. PS5 will support ray tracing. This is not a software level fix. There is ray tracing acceleration in the GPU hardware, and that comes directly from system architect Mark Cerny, which I believe is the statement that people were looking for. This next statement is what excites me probably the most. Physical games will use a 100 gigabyte optical disc, which are inserted into an optical drive that doubles as a 4K Blu-ray player. I did not think that we were going to get an all-digital system. I really think that's at least another generation out. But what they're talking about is this that can certainly hold everything that's needed. They're talking about only doing like a game like Call of Duty that has both a single and a multiplayer campaign in it. Well, maybe if you just want to play the one and you don't care about the other, you can choose to only install that part of the game. And I think that's just pretty smart going forward. We did hear about the new Xbox One S all digital edition. So we're already producing systems without a disk drive. It's certainly coming, and it saddens me completely, as one of my goals here is to get my entire collection kind of in one place and really be able to sit back and look at a lifetime of collecting and cherishing the medium that I love. So at least for this next generation, we are keeping with that, and I'm glad to hear it. There will be a new user interface that's being revamped. Not surprising about that. The PS5 controller is going to look like the PlayStation 4 DualShock, but there will be some new what they're calling adaptive triggers, which offer varying levels of resistance It can make shooting a bow feel more authentic in the tension, the pullback, or making a machine gun feel different than shooting a shotgun. They're going to have what's called haptic feedback. So kind of instead of having just the little motors spinning inside the controllers, this is going to be a much more realistic feel to it. And one of the main things they talked about, like in Gran Turismo Sport, suppose you are driving and you go off the asphalt into the dirt. Well, there's going to be a clear difference in how the controller feels when those happens. Not unlike when you're driving a car and you go from a rough road to a smooth road. And that's really exciting. It kind of sounds like we've been, going back to the PlayStation 1. We've had these controllers that just have these spinning motors inside of them. So it sounds like we're finally getting some innovation as far as that goes. And that's definitely a good thing. There's going to be a longer battery life in there that charges up by USB-C. They're saying it will be slightly heavier than a PlayStation 4 DualShock, but that's kind of giving you the take. If you want a longer battery life and not have to charge it every day, it's going to weigh a little bit more. That's just the reality of it. As far as games go, I think you're going to see, as far as games that we enjoy, right, JRPGs, I still think like there's a ton of them that are all going to come out for PS4. You may see a handful that go ahead and make the leap to PS5. But there still may be a PS4 version that comes out. We see that every generation. So far, there's not been anything confirmed. We're still talking over a year out. So as we hear more things about it, we will certainly talk about that. The custom solid state drive is going to be the game changer as far as this system goes. Just so much faster on every aspect. Those you PC gamers out there that have an SSD know exactly what we're all getting ready to enjoy. Of course, it is completely backwards compatible with PlayStation 4 games, so that's a move that we haven't seen since those very first PS3 models that came out that would play backwards compatible, and then they quickly stopped doing that. Resolution up to 8K resolution for games. We're a long ways away from 8K, but I'm liking that it's at least capable of doing such a thing. Of course, that Ultra HD Blu-ray is pretty sweet too. And that's all I have for PS5. I'm sure we're going to learn more and more about that, and we'll talk about some of the games that will be able to utilize that. Off the top of my head, I would go ahead and say that there's going to be a PS5 version of Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, or however you pronounce that, I'm not sure. And the people who remade Shadow of the Colossus, is that Blue Frame? Is that? I can't remember their name off the top of my head. They're talking about working on something big. And one of the titles I heard thrown out there was Legend of Dragoon. That they're working on a complete remake, kind of like they did with Shadow of the Colossus, where it was obviously the same game but just remade. And that's just a blatant rumor, guys, but boy, that would sure be super exciting. One of the suggestions a few weeks ago when we had a short week news-wise was, hey, let's talk about all the games coming out in 2020 and kind of rank them, so to speak, on how excited I am about them. And we do have release dates, at least for the early part, in particular like January and February. So let's just we'll go down the list. Now, this is an RPG list, so I'm going to try to weed those out as I read through it. I may miss a few, and they're not technically JRPGs. I'm sorry. So the lines are blurred sometimes. So coming up in January, the first one we're going to get on the 10th That's Super Robot Wars X. Then we get the previously talked about the Atelier Dusk Trilogy Deluxe Pack. That's on the 14th. Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore on January 17th. Not a RPG completely, but has a lot of these elements to it. And that's actually the new Dragon Ball Z Kakarot game. That's coming out on the 17th as well. And before you say, well, we've played these Dragon Ball Z games for ages. It's at its heart, it is a fighting game, but there's exploration, there's level building, all this, all the attacks have numerical values above their heads. So as an old school Dragon Ball fan, I'm intrigued and I want to see a lot more of it. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered coming out on January the 23rd. The Monster Hunter World Iceborne PC expansion comes out. And that's most of it for January. February is pretty barren right now. We may get a few things come out later, but as of right now, it's just the remastered collection for Yakuza, and that's on February 11th. There's a small game coming out in March, something about a Final Fantasy VII remake on the 3rd. You may have heard about it. PlayStation 4 is pretty excited about it. We'll talk about that one later, I am sure. Certainly not a JRPG, but a lot of people are excited about Cyberpunk 2077 coming out on April 20th. Trials of Mana, PS4, Switch, and PC on April the 24th. And that's all the ones that have firm release dates. Okay, so the rest of them are all windows. So in the spring, we're talking about Arc of Alchemist for PS4, Persona 5 Royal at some point, Phantasy Star Online 2, Project Sakura Wars, RPG Time: The Legend of Wright, a JRPG that I cannot pronounce the name of it, Prelude to the Fallen, Uramono. They've got to change that name. That's just awful. Other RPGs that are now just scheduled for 2020. Christ Tales, Digimon Survive, Fairy Tail RPG, Genshin Impact, Langrisser 1 and 2, Story of Seasons, Friends of Myrtle Town, Sword Art Online, Alicization Lycoris, Tales of Arise, the Alliance Live HD Remaster for PC, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and two of them that may come out in 2020 but haven't got anything as far as even a release date is Rune Factory 5 and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. So that's a lot of games, and I certainly might have missed them. Like I said, I tried to kind of just focus on purely the JRPGs and just the ones that I knew. They don't differentiate between the two. So starting in January, a game I did not ever get to play was Tokyo Mirage Sessions. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. That may even be one that I end up picking up. So let's just call it like a top 10. Okay. So that may be on the fence about it. Number one, and will always be number one until it comes out, it's going to be Final Fantasy VII Remaster. Or remake, sorry. It's not a remaster, it's a remake. Let's just go ahead and get that one out of the way. That is number one. I'm certainly looking forward to Trials of Mana. That's on the list. Persona 5 Royal is near the top. If we're just saying games that are 2020 on that just released, that's probably right there with Tales of Arise. I say Tales of Arise is probably right behind. We'll call that number 2. I I'm so looking forward to Relink, Grand Blue Fantasy. I don't know why that game just has me intrigued, but I'm scared to death that they're going to try to put this on PS5. That it's going to come out so late that they're going to have to make it, at least a version of it for Part 5, which is going to make it delayed even further. That scares me. It really does. I'm super looking forward to Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Like I said, I loved Part 2 and never got to play Part 1. So that's pretty high on the list. Christ Tales is right there. It may be a top 5 one for me. It really may. That game looks so good and so unique. Yeah, so Persona 5 Royal is probably right there in the top 5. So there's so many games coming out, guys. We have so much to look forward to next year in addition to a new console cycle. There's probably even ones... I did not see it on this list, but there's Edge of Eternity game I'm really looking forward to. I don't know why that's actually not on here, as it is already out basically for PC. Of course, it's not complete, but so that's the list. What game are you looking forward to most in 2020? Let's just put it this way. What game not called Final Fantasy VII Remake are you looking forward to the most in 2020? Leave me a comment on the Facebook page. I'll post this podcast. You can leave it there or start a thread, whatever. I may just start a thread. We may just do it that way. So let me know. Don't forget to leave us a like over there if you've not already. Check out our YouTube page as well. I've been a little inactive on there as things have been hectic, but we'll ramp that back up and have our live stream for Trails of Cold Steel 3 once it comes out. That's going to wrap up episode 81. Hopefully we'll be a little better next week and we'll be a little more set up, because this is odd, to say the least. Thank you so much for checking in, guys, and we'll check back with you next week. Till then, my name is James Fisher. Thank you so much for listening. Now, get back out there and level up.